So we are live. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So today we have Emily Abbott from the Brain Possible, one of the podcasts that I really consecutively follow through. I don't usually follow a lot of podcasts because busy mom of three and whatnot. But what I do is I try to find my best content and people who speaks the real deal and then who speaks based on research as well as experience, and they have a broad sense of self and the world in general. Okay, so today we have Emily. She's the CEO and founder of the Brain Possible and also the Brain Possible podcast. She was inspired to work on the podcast based on her son, right? Carter.
Mm-hmm.
He was born with brain injury.
No, he wasn't born with it.
Okay, after that,
Yeah.
let's hear a little about him and how you came to having the podcast.
Oh, yeah, sure. So my second child, I've had 5 children. My second child, Carter, was born in 2010,
Mm-hmm.
and he was born healthy and full term. A natural delivery the regular way. I mean, I of course did not do natural, no drugs, but I did deliver him the normal way.
Okay.
And we went home from the hospital, and on about day 6 of life, he started having some distress, and he was crying, and we couldn't figure out why he wouldn't stop crying. He all of a sudden, he was a great nurser right away, and all of a sudden didn't want to nurse and pulled off crying a lot. And that was the only symptom that we saw. And I was still, a young mom, and sometimes you don't know any better until you have lived experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, oh, maybe he has colic like my older daughter did. Although I didn't know or realize that babies don't present with colic until they're maybe about 3 months old. So if they're crying that much, it is usually a sign, if they can't stop crying for like 30 straight minutes or more, it may be a little bit like of a sign that you need to get them checked out when they're brand new babies. So anyway,
Mm-hmm.
we waited through the night of him crying, and the next day went to the doctor, and then the doctor couldn't find anything, and sort of sent us away and said, come back later when this other doctor's here. But then they called back, and they had a better judgment and said, go to the hospital. So we went to the hospital, and the hospital couldn't find anything. So they said, you need to stay, and we're going to need to do a spinal tap. Basically, they wanted to check for bacterial meningitis,
Mm-hmm.
which at that time I thought, oh my gosh, what a worst case scenario this could be. I just had a baby, and I have to go back to the hospital and stay here for maybe 3 weeks treating for bacterial meningitis. So little did I know that was not the worst case scenario, and it can always get worse. I've learned that many times, and I have a empathy like I never had before my son now. But to make a long story short, he ended up flatlining the next day, having a loss of oxygen, and then he was on life support. And
That
days
flatlining the next
later,
day. It's okay.
we found out that he had infectious disease at the Children's
Mm-hmm.
Hospital, came back and said that they found a virus that he had. And they had only just started testing for this, singling out this virus. Before that, it was just grouped in like a group of enteroviruses. And it was something that they, as described to me, anyone could walk around with, and we'd probably be fine. We wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
even know we had it. But a little newborn baby is not fine necessarily when they come across a virus. There's one life experience right there. I see people all the time, and I'm not going to be a crazy person and go up to people with newborn babies, but I see them all the time, as I did with my first child, out at restaurants and wherever, concerts, they put headphones on their baby, and I'm thinking, your baby doesn't have an immune system yet. They get only their immune system from mama's milk and what they were born with in their microbiome from mom. So for the first 3 months are probably, you really want to lay low. Anyway, I don't know where he got a virus, but it caused a traumatic brain injury. And then we went on our journey of finding health and wellness and healing for my son for his life, which was 20 months long.
Yeah. Okay. So all throughout that, since you have mentioned the word healing and other form of, what did you actually go through? Like, was it just medical intervention, or did you try naturopathic or diet or things like that?
Yeah. So for brain injury, there is not that much that doctors can do. So right away, my husband, a lot of male figures and many females, but my husband fell into the category of going into this like fix it mode. So he didn't know how to help me. I was shutting down and just trying to like process and not take in any external stressors. And my husband was looking, what can we do? So he was like, oh my gosh, let's look up Ben Carson and and let's go to Johns Hopkins. Or he's like, we'll go anywhere. Let's figure it out. And he called them and they said the word no. They said, this is not what you would need. But Dr. Carson does surgery. And what you need is to be looking for rehabilitative care. So that word changed his searches on Google or wherever he was searching, and he started looking for other options. Now him and my sister, between the two of them, they'd come up with things like, he had swelling in his brain, and they said, what about this cold cap therapy? Or, different things that they would find, and they'd ask the neurologists about it and the doctors, the team of doctors. And usually the response was met with, you could waste a lot of time and money on these things and many things that I don't know the exact words, but let's say may or may not work. And what you really should do is take your child home and love them. The other suggestions were, we learned CPR, learned how to insert a feeding tube, take it out, put in a new one, seizure medication. And then to call the state paid for, PT, OT, those kinds of things. But it was a lot of never, there will never be, he's never going to nurse. He's never going to sit up. He will probably never see, never hear, never do anything. He'll have seizures for the rest of his life, right? And so that's a very disempowering place to be. So eventually my husband was like, Emily, I found this woman in San Francisco area. Her name's Anat Banyel. And he said, that, he showed me a video of her working on a child on YouTube. And there was, a lot of remarkable things that you could learn about her online. And, at the time we're thinking, just
Why
like
not?
That could be, it could be, could be worthless or it could be something, right? Yeah. And you never really know until you go out. So when I said, yeah, I would go there, he called them and they said, as soon as he's released from the hospital and he's stable, yes, we will see you and we will work you into a schedule. So we wanted to go there for a week. And we said we would go there if only we could see Anat herself. She's trained hundreds of other practitioners, but we wanted to see Anat. So Anat worked us into her schedule and we went there. And then that was the first of our alternative complementary therapies. And it was a place where no one told us that they could heal my son or that any miracle was going to happen. But they kind of, I like to describe it as they left space for what's possible. So I felt that it was a safe place, that I wasn't being, bombarded with negative energy, negative words, never to be's, things like that. And also it was gentle. It was safe for my son, non-invasive, And I like to describe it as something that could do no harm, right?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different types of therapies, but that was the first one and the main therapy we did. But other things along the way, eventually we bought our own hyperbaric oxygen chamber, and we went in there as a family, and he napped in there daily. And we had a cold laser that helped me with integrating reflexes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I also worked manually on reflex work with him. And I learned about the Weston A. Price Foundation from my pediatrician. And so I purchased Sally Fallon's book, Nourishing Traditions, the main one. And I started making my own bone broth and coming up with nourishing food. When my son started eating, I only fed him the best because there wasn't really a lot I could do, but I could feed him nourishing food. Eventually I did nurse him, and that was with help of a Not-Banyel method work. It didn't take too long for him to figure that out and coordinate himself. And he did wean off of seizure medication eventually.
Wow.
But we did a lot of things. He did do some medical intervention, stem cell therapy, which of course we did pay for out of pocket as well. But we tried eventually a lot of things that would do no harm. And so that kind of was the catalyst of my own health and wellness journey, and learning what it means to be well and what's possible in the face of, illness or not being well.
Okay. In lieu to that question, because we have a lot of people in our audience, and basically in general, autism community are told that nutrition doesn't matter, food doesn't matter, just he's the way he is. But I have, from time to time, I have brought in a lot of parents who have seen lots of differences, whether they have autism, ADHD, ASD, or whatever, or brain injury like the one you were talking about. You have personally also seen a lot of improvement where medical system was saying that there is nothing to be done when
Right.
you were shifting the nutrition and complementary and natural way of thinking. So in that sense, could you give some encouragement to our audience here to not, how to say, like, if I'm talking honestly, I don't know, I feel like what could a good diet harm your child? It cannot harm your child. The only thing that can do is it can improve something. So would you give us some inspiration from your own experience that these things work and they should try?
Yeah. Well, so I have interviewed now maybe 72 experts, doctors, practitioners, and parents. Not all of those episodes have gone live yet, but I interviewed a really amazing guy the other day, Dr. Greenblatt, who wrote the book Finally Focused, among others. And he's a psychiatrist, right? Who are known for being pill pushers. He
Yeah,
said
yeah.
ADHD, that's, what's the prescription? I'm here. I've got it. That's what I know. I understand drugs. I learned drugs in school and I study them daily. And what drug do you need? And he does prescribe medicine, but he was telling me how he does not agree, what he really thinks where it's the key is to supporting children, is his opinion was in an integrative approach. So the best of Western and Eastern medicine, and you need to know, one of the beautiful things about a doctor like him, which is remarkable, but they are out there, is testing. You know what? We don't get the nutrition that we need in our diet anymore. And our moms maybe didn't, or maybe they did. They were on the cusp of processed food as well, the canned stuff. And all of a sudden their parents started saying, life's easy. Look, there's canned food.
Yeah, 80s and 90s, I understand.
And so that's when we one thing that happened where we started going a little bit maybe nutrient deficient. And what that can cause are all sorts of things. Dr. Greenblatt was describing that, I mean, some common things he looks for are iron levels and zinc and copper levels. He looks at the gut microbiome because there's often, in a lot of his patients, he sees this dysbiosis in your gut that's causing your brain to be, well, he didn't use this word, but I've heard it as well, on fire, right? Gut on fire, brain on fire. A gut on fire can mean you're eating, well, that's a whole nother another topic I don't know if you want me to go into, but you can change your child's diet and it can change their mood. It can change daily life. It can change their physical body. It can change their skin. If you're seeing outbreaks on your skin, eczema or fungal infections, they're actually not normal. They're not. It's a sign that something on the inside is not in balance. If your child is pooping regularly and with ease, that's not normal. And if you're not pooping regularly and with ease, that's not normal. But these things, simple little changes can happen. I remember when I got the Nourishing Traditions book, I started feeding Carter, and he enjoyed his food and he was well, enough. He still had trouble going to the bathroom, and I would have to, mom talk here, I would have to push his little legs back to help him go to the bathroom. He was an infant, and that's the only way he would go. But then I went to the Family Hope Center and they said, we think that you should try no dairy. And and I was like, what are you talking about? I only feed him organic dairy. I give him the creme fraiche. I give him like raw milk. I give him the best stuff. I live in California and had access to these things. And they were like, just try it. And then he was able to go to the bathroom. Now you don't want to hold your stool in because it's full of toxins. You need to get that out. You just need to keep things moving, and you need to keep your child nourished and yourself.
All the things that I always talk about, like it's just reiterating. I'm bringing in people and they're saying the same thing. So it's high time you guys listen, okay? Because I also am a very big advocate for grain-free and milk-free, and I personally have seen a lot of improvement in my son, and also with the clients that we work with, and it has been a life changer. It has been a life changer. So moving on to the next question, we are almost always told anything that happens in our body. Recently, it's just genetic, diabetes, genetic, heart disease, genetic, autism, genetic. So everything is based on genetics, but latest researchers and experience connect them to gut health, like the way we are talking about, right? Going milk-free, doing nutrition, constipation, getting rid of constipation and things like that. So you have actually got a lot of experts on your show, and I have heard a lot also from yours. So you have had people saying that there are connection between maternal nutrition and then the child health. Okay,
Right.
would you care some ideas on it?
Well, to be clear, I am no expert, and I know you know that, but all I'm doing is surrounding myself with experts, and I have the pleasure and opportunity of listening to them on our nonprofit platform. And so I'm very lucky, but I tried to explain this to my husband recently, and I don't know that he even really gets it, even after I try to explain, but I'll see what I can do. So we're essentially, we are born with, I'm explaining this to my husband because, as our children, I have 4 living children, and things I'm researching in their health and wellness, and trying to get them in optimal health so that they can thrive. I find a lot of similarities in their gut. I've done testing. I've done stool testing on my children. I've done hair and mineral analysis testing, blood testing, urine testing, and it's interesting. But I find that they are very similar to me, and it's not to place. And I have a lot of similarities to my parents and to my mother.
Mm-mm.
And it's not to place blame on myself or my mother, but the truth is, what happens is, from what I'm learning, your baby is born with your microbiome. So if I was, not very healthy, not eating a diverse diet, I had, maybe let's say I had a fungal overgrowth in my gut, and or candida, and I never know what the proper way to pronounce that is, but if I had that, or I had food allergies and a leaky gut because I was
Mm-mm.
eating all these things that my gut was like angry, and it wasn't really happy, and things aren't like looking too great in there, which is how a lot of people are. They just don't realize that that's not normal because they never have felt normal. But
Perfect
so
point.
young, and maybe I was, let's say I was 21 when I got pregnant with my first child. I was probably drinking a lot, going out to eat a lot, having a drink with every single meal or more than one, and eating bad oils, processed food, and all my food allergies. And I thought I just had IBS, right? Then my kids are born with that. And I never, if you don't go back and try and heal and balance those things out, so there's good bacteria and bad bacteria, and that's what I mean by balance. You want the right ratio of things, and I don't know what that is, but I lean on experts to tell me that. But if you don't go and heal the lining of the gut, remove the food allergies, calm down the inflammation in your intestines, then they will go on to have a similar pattern as mom, or my mom, and and on and
Mm-mm.
on and on. So it can be stopped and it can be healed. I have heard that the best time is the age 6 and under. But at any time, a lot of us don't learn about health and wellness until much older. It can be healed. It's just faster. Kids heal really fast when they're young.
Yeah, that's why I keep on saying that if it's because usually the brain develops in segments from conception until birth. That's one. And then from 0 until the age of 3, about 80% of the brain is already matured, like developed. And then until the age of 7, there is 15% more until like 95. Although the brain keeps on morphing and improving, but the thing is, I find we are not taught this in school also, general nutrition, general health. We are just told that we need carbohydrate, like we need to eat wheat, we need to eat rice, otherwise we are going to be unhealthy and things like that. So the more we are learning and the more we are doing research recently, all the age old traditions are coming back, and
Yes.
then we are knowing the importance of fermented food, sauerkraut and things like that. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing your perspective on the need and the understanding of the maternal health, as well as what happens to the child. It's not to make the mother feel guilty, it's just to create awareness so that she knows where it started. Because I personally love to find the root cause, because
Yes.
when we find the root cause and we try to heal it, or whatever word that you feel comfortable, because sometimes people do not feel comfortable with the word heal, and then sometimes somebody gets really angry if somebody use the word cure and things like that, so it's just words anyway. So maternal health, we have established to some extent that maternal health is very much important for the child growth. Okay. And
Mhm.
you, through your podcast, have experimented, I would say, like gone into the arena of what's possible for the brain, right? So in lieu to that, the thing is, how much is it possible to improve the brain, like brain neuroplasticity? A lot of we autism community is like divided. There is a big chunk of us who are told that the brain is what he's born with and there's nothing that can be done, and then there is a few of us, a few portion of us who has this faith that something can happen, and also we know. So I would like you to explain a little bit how much of the brain is possible.
That's a very good question. Now, I'm going to be authentic with you. I cannot answer that question. I can discuss it and explore it.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you. And if anyone thinks that they can tell you what's possible or not, that's a red flag, because no one knows. Even neurologists, they don't know what's possible yet.
Even they don't know exactly.
Yes. And the best doctors, you know, I love when I do interview people and they tell me that they don't know. Sorry, my dog, maybe I should have put her away.
It's okay. It's all right.
The best ones, in my opinion, are the ones who tell you that they don't know what's possible or not possible. And I think also when they admit that they don't know. So what I would love to hear, and other people have told me that they'd love to hear, another parent I interviewed said the same thing. And I was like, yes. What would have been nice is if a doctor in the hospital said, instead of telling us all the negative things and the things that are never possible, just leave space. I understand. My husband talked to the hospital about this. Why do you have to be so negative like that and leave no hope? And they sort of said it's basically a legal liability thing. And then they lean on it a little too hard. They don't want to give you false hope. And I understand that. But there's, in my opinion, a way to say things in a way that doesn't give people false hope. But, you know, maybe this child will never, let's say maybe Carter will never roll over or see or hear. Maybe he will die tomorrow. But I don't know, because Carter has never been before. And there are instances where sometimes children can overcome a brain injury. Now, I'm going to tell you, it doesn't
not for everyone.
Time. It's not going to happen all the time, but Carter has never been before, and we do not know. If they would just leave it at that, that would be wonderful, because to leave someone with
hope,
yes, or to leave them with the opposite of, you know,
this is not possible. That is not possible. You cannot do this.
Yeah, because you know what? Most of the time, people lean really hard into what the experts tell them.
Yeah,
because you're in a vulnerable state, and you know, when you're dealing with something is wrong, especially with your child, and you hear what a hospital or an expert or a doctor tells you, and you think, well, they know. They should know. They study children. They went to school. But you know what? They're not an expert on your child. And they don't study everything. A lot of them don't study very much nutrition.
Yeah.
And you know what else they don't study? They don't study any of the complementary and alternative methods, unless that is something of particular interest to them and they go out of their way to learn it, right? But it's not what they learn in medical school. It's not what they learn in their day-to-day rounds at the hospital. It's not their job. So they can't know everything. They can't know about Anat-Baniel method and the Feldenkrais method and what nutrition does for your brain injured child, and reflex therapy and creeping and crawling and all the different things. They can't know everything. That's why you have to seek out individual experts who know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you so much for saying that, because yeah, we do lean in a little too much on the expert saying that something is not possible, so this is it. Like all hopes are gone. And then if somebody says things are possible, then there will be a lot of people coming in. No, you are giving false hope. You are spreading wrong things and things like that. So I would like to say that first of all, you need to have faith, even if the experts are saying you so-called thing, as you said, they're not expert in your child. You
Mm-hmm.
know him or her better than anybody else in this world. And if your mother instinct says that you should try, so you should try, right?
Yeah. Yes.
You should try, definitely.
That's another thing that is common, that I hear from people on the podcast, who I also really appreciate when they say that, one, when MDs say that they don't know everything and they're
Mm-hmm.
only human, and or if they say they make mistakes, I love that too. And also when they tell you, I always ask, at the end of every podcast, um, if they would like to say anything else to be complete. I like that question because I had a business coach for a few years, and she asked me that at the end of every single coaching session. And it left me feeling complete with my coaching session. There was nothing more for me to say. And a lot of them tell me, that if the mother or parent knows best, and if to go with your gut instinct, and that you should listen to yourself more.
Mm-hmm.
And I also appreciate that. I've heard it time and time again.
How would you inspire the mom to be like, to not listen to the doctors, or not it's not the right way of saying, I'm sorry. What I wanted to say is, because I get a lot of DMs, saying that what should I do, because I saw your live, and then I asked my doctor, should I change the diet, and then he scolded me, what should I do? So I was like,
Hmm.
first of all, I myself am not a doctor. I'm Dr. Tasnuva, means I have a PhD, not a doctor. Okay. And obviously I haven't studied autism until I became an autism mom. So it's
Okay.
not like I have educational background for autism. What I have as an educational background is pharmacy. I have my PhD in pharmacy, honors and masters. So in lieu to that, I have had to study, because it's medicine. I had to study all forms of medicine, all complementary forms, herbal, then integrative, complementary, Ayurvedic, a lot of things, along with the modern drugs to compare. That's what our study system was. So in connection to that, as well as the research that I have done for my pre and post doctorate, I have learned a lot of importance between the nutrition, the gut health, and then the natural medicine, that we can do a lot. Thing is, when we go to the doctor, pediatrician, they will always say that things are not connected. And when I say, this is because when you go to the eye doctor cannot say what's happening in your ear, because he only learned that thing. If you
Yes.
go to a heart doctor, he cannot say that the heart is connected to the brain, with the nervous system and whatnot. He would say like, no, the heart is just a heart and there's nothing else in the body, it's just the heart. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And also, there will be no doctors making the connection that everything starts with what we eat, because we are what we eat. So
Mhm.
for those parents, could you please give some words from mom to mom, like how to lean into listening to the gut and not to the experts, as in the experts who are not really, I would say, like experts.
Well, they may be an expert in something,
Yeah, but not everything.
and also the word expert is also, debatable, because how
Yeah.
are we ever? We're always learning. Everyone is always learning.
Yeah.
And the doctors that I have the pleasure of consulting or speaking with, on an advisory level and a mentorship level, have said the same thing. And I know them, and they are always learning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The best
Um,
of us are always learning.
yeah. So I'm going to go back to this book that I just finished, Finally Focused, right? By Dr. Greenblatt. And in it, a couple times, he talks about, how to implement his program, right? And he says, a lot of the time you need if you want to order these labs, you need to talk to your doctor. And if you want to change this or that, or this medicine or something, talk to your doctor. But he says, you can bring your doctor this book or tell them to read this chapter. And I like it. I love that. And you know what? A lot of doctors might say, like, they're busy, they don't have time. Like, that's a lot to ask of a doctor who gets paid to see you for what, like 20 minutes from
20 minutes.
insurance?
Yeah.
To go read a chapter to help your child. But you know what? Some doctors will do that. And it doesn't hurt to ask. You can present them with studies or research, and you can only ask humbly. And, don't come there being all righteous and better than them, but just in a place of, we don't know what's possible. I don't know what's possible. I'm sure you don't know what's possible.
Yeah, definitely. As I said, not an expert.
Yeah. And you can, ask and come, knowing you only have a 20 minutes, let's say, with your doctor or your child's doctor, come prepared with a short list. Or if you wanted to you want them to read a chapter, gift them this book and bookmark the chapter. They may or they may not read it, but gosh, if they do, that would be amazing, worth its weight in gold, because now you've got your MD helping you in an integrative way. Or they might say, this is fascinating. I don't personally know these things, but I encourage you to go look. They might say that. Wonderful doctors say things like that.
Yeah.
They might refer you to someone else, maybe not to see as another MD, but maybe they'll say, I know of a functional doctor or functional health coach or so-and-so who can help you with that kind of thing, but I don't know that. Or they might come back and say, that's not possible, or things like that. And I would encourage you to go seek a second, third, fourth opinion and talk to someone else. People who are going to put you down and make your life harder when your life is hard enough healing a child. No, they're not worth your time.
No.
They're not worth your 20 minutes.
Thank you so much. There is recently what happened is there is this mom in our community who herself is a doctor, and then she went on to seek help for her nonverbal child, and then they made her do test on genetic mutation, and then she was very scared. The thing is, when we go to the doctors and the people who make us feel more out of power, like we don't have the power, and what they are saying is the Bible, I keep on saying that that's not your people. That's not your people. Okay? Yeah. Anybody who says it's not, the brain is not possible, is not our people. Because research through and through has already, a lot of time already proven it, because our brain has neuroplasticity. The amount of recovery depends from child to child or case to case, but that does not mean your child is just a number. When you go to the doctor, your child may be just a number or a name, but to you, it's your whole world.
Yeah.
So it would pay more to have that faith on yourself and your child's brain, rather than on those people whose main intention is to just get it over with, or maybe to let you hook onto them or their system, which goes on for years. Like, some of the people who comes to me, they have
I can't hear you.
had years. Something happened to the broadcast.
Oh yeah, you paused.
Yeah. I don't know. It just started going through. Maybe because we have a storm outside going on. Maybe because of that.
Oh.
Canadian weather, you never know.
Yeah.
Okay. So, anyways, I think we are pretty much near to the end. I would love you to give us 5 of your top tips to get in best shape for us and our children.
Oh boy, to get in our best shape.
Yeah, like, the gut health, nutrition, and brain health.
And brain health.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wish I had that one written down, but this is a good practice. I would say it starts with food.
Yeah.
You want to begin in your kitchen. And I will also say that it's a journey. So it's been 11 years since I began my journey of seeking out organic food and making bone broth and roasting chickens and, little by little layering it on, trying organ meats, different things like this, right? The other day I bought a almond cow and started making my own almond milk. That
Wow.
happened 11 years later, guys. So it doesn't all have to happen at once. Just one thing at a time. You know what? When a device breaks in my kitchen or I need to replace something or want to buy something new, go with a cleaner, healthier version. Or when you feel up for it and you can fit a little bit more time and you think, you know what? Today I'm going to try making something fermented. Very simple. Or today I'm going to roast my first bird. You know what I mean? So food is medicine is number one in my mind. And then I would say number two in my world is you also want to clean up the toxins in our world. They're coming at us from every single direction. They're radiating out of this computer, out of that Wi-Fi device next to me, out of in the water that we drink and the pesticides on the lawn outside that we walk in and then our dog walks in, even if it's not on our lawn, and all the things that are everywhere on our clothing, in our mattresses, in our air, everywhere. Okay? Don't overwhelm yourself. Just one at a time, work on eliminating. When you need to replace, let's say, a mattress, save up and get a clean mattress, one without the toxins in it. I wish all my mattresses were replaced right now and I didn't have any toxic mattresses in my house, but that's not the case. But when I do have the opportunity to buy a new one, I have, allocated some money to spend on a clean version or a water filter, even if it's a Berkey water filter, So those are ones that are a little bit more affordable. They don't even have to go under your sink. It's so cleaning up the toxins in your world and your child's world. Yeah. If you need to buy new skin products, hair products, more new, anything product that goes on your body, around your home, in your home, consider something that's non-toxic. And sometimes you might say, you know what, that option is too expensive. I'm not going to do that one. That's all right. Move on to something else that's toxic that you can do and eliminate or change in your life.
There are a lot of things actually that you can make just from baking soda and lemon and things like that. Just lying around in your kitchen. It's for you to have the inspiration to do it.
It's true. It's true. Whenever I've been squeezing a lemon for cooking these days, I have a jar under my sink filled with vinegar, white vinegar, organic white vinegar water right now. And I take the squeezed lemon and dump it in there because I'm just infusing that. I'm just little at a time. There's lots of things that we can do. And often it's being a little bit more minimalist, which is a beautiful thing, I'll tell you. In my opinion, is being more minimal and making your space and environment more minimal and less intrusive on your eyes and your space. Okay, so
sensory level as well.
food and toxins. I would also say, well, I really think lab testing is important. If you can save up and afford it. Dr. Greenblatt in this book, now I've been doing lab testing on myself and my kids for years now, but he had in the book the specific labs for specific things, the name of the lab, the type of test, and at the time that the book was written, but I think they were pretty accurate based on today's prices and paying on how much everything cost. I mean, a full panel sometimes can cost, a full blood panel can cost, let's say upwards at the top, $200. Plus you have to work with someone who knows how to read it, right? The most expensive part is supplements. But I would say if you could look at labs, I think they're pretty valuable. They can tell you if there's heavy metals in your body or child's body, if you have parasites going on, which people are like, ew, parasites. A lot of people have parasites and we don't realize it. So I think labs are on my wish list, I guess you could say, of things that I would check. And I think it's worth it to save up for. Let's see.
Actually, I would like to butt in there. I personally believe it's not how much you make, I mean, how much you earn, it's how you budget things. It's how you spend. Okay? Because when I started my own radical journey, I was stay-at-home mom. My husband, we were new immigrant. My husband did a very basic salary job. So it was very tight around corners. But then I was able to find ways to make things organic for my children. Maybe not for me, but for them, I allocated. And I have seen lots of results based on the change. So what I wanted to slide in here to say that it's not actually, a lot of people think the first question they ask me if they want to work with me is, how much do you cost? So it's like the cost is in the forefront, but we do not calculate the cost of keeping up with the toxins, the cost of keeping up with the problem, the cost of numbing out with the problem, because we are not that focused, right? And then it's not actually that much of how much you earn. It's mostly about budgeting. Like you said, if you want to change the mattress, you store some money, you save up some money, and then you buy that mattress. Or when you want to do some testing or anything for your child, or maybe something that is not falling under the benefit or insurance, you have to save up for them. If you want to do something, then you will have to be resourceful. Is that what the right? Resourceful in trying to learn more. Either you do it yourself at home, or you save up and then go buy the best option that you can afford. Not necessarily everything has to be 100% organic, or because it's not possible. We are in a world which is so much polluted and whatnot. So yeah, thank you so much for saying that part as well. What are your fourth and fifth tip?
Okay, I want to clarify something before I tell you, because I'm debating in my mind what they should be. Are you wanting specific therapies or treatments that are favorites, or just life practices?
Which like practices, like practices.
Okay, well, so that's great because anyone can do those. I think maybe this one should have been at the top. So I don't know if they're in a particular order, but incorporating a mindfulness practice into your household, that one's difficult for me, but I see the value in it. I do. And when I stop and I breathe and I take deep breaths, or I sit with my children who are very high energy and teach them to breathe, it does calm things down. And it does, your body cannot heal if it is in a state of stress all the time. I've been told that sometimes things can be very reoccurrent, or the gut won't calm down and heal if there's too much stress going on. And people are like, well, great. How do I get rid of stress? Walking, I've been told to walk if you can, either first morning light within the first hour or 2 hours of light, or right after your kids get dropped off, go for a walk. And you can listen to a meditation or some music that you like, or you can just listen outside and breathe. Practice your breathing. Maybe you don't get the breath in all the time, and that's breathe in for 4, hold for 4, and you could, some say breathe out for 4, but you could
or some say 6.
7, 4, 4, 7.
Okay.
So in for 4, hold for 4, out for 7. That's something we can all do. It will help us. It will help our children, for us to calm down the energy and heal ourselves, and to not be under so much stress. And breathing can be done anywhere, on an airplane, sitting at your desk during a Zoom call, or walking if you can get out and walk, or in the car, sitting in traffic. And then I guess the 5th one that I always find, interesting and important. Well, I guess, I was going to say, there's so much, maybe there's mindful parenting too. I'll group that in there. Anything, the mindful practices, that one's all in one. I think the other one I would say is clean water. There's a lot of, there's chlorine in our water, in a lot of our water, and fluoride in a lot of our water, not everyone's water, but there's also chemicals, lots of them. Now, did you know, and a lot of people don't know that, you probably know this, but a lot of people do not even realize, they think like, oh, this is America, or no, you're not in America, but this is Canada. And
North America.
It's clean and healthy. This is a modern society. We don't get sick when we drink our water. Well, no, you don't get sick right away, but it adds up. And also, what do you think the chlorine is doing to your intestines that you're working so hard to nourish and, eat fermented foods in a diverse diet? It's killing stuff off. It kills off the good bacteria too. And also, what isn't filtered out are pharmaceuticals. And I always find this one like disgusting, because how could we actually live in a modern society and they don't filter out pharmaceuticals from our water? Well, guess what? That hospital where all those people are on chemotherapy and taking tons of drugs and heart medication, that one's one of the big ones. And birth control pills, messing with your hormones, all the things people are taking, we're ingesting them too, because they pee in the toilet and then they clean the water, but they do not take out the pharmaceuticals, because that is an advanced technology, and it's not something that we do in our system.
Regular, yeah.
So invest in a water filter that can remove
drastically change. So we have a question from Pooja. She says that she herself is a certified clinical dietitian. I believe in power of food and nutrition, but I don't master in anatomy or stuffs, as you were saying, like we are saying. No one knows how things might change. So could you please suggest on how to hang on, actually? Sometimes the professionals are so demotivating. That long sigh tells me a lot.
I'm trying to think of how to answer that question. So is it how to hang on and learn about anatomy?
No, it's not like that. How to hang on to the faith that things can change, the brain can change, a lot of things can change. Even though the doctors are saying there's nothing much to change.
Oh.
Or I'm not ready for it.
The first thing I did was, oh my gosh. Oh, there's this book. So when I took my son Carter out to California and we went to the Anat Ben-Yael Method Center, we were working with this, well, he was an MD. He went to medical school. His name is Dr. Neil Sharp, but he wasn't practicing medicine anymore. He was an Anat Ben method practitioner now. And I said to him, do you, we were hungry to learn, and we said, where can we learn about the brain and what's possible, and what's going on with our son? Where should we start? And he suggested reading the book, The Brain That Changes Itself.
Wow.
Yeah,
What,
it is
The Brain That Changes Itself? By who? It's by whom? Because I want to read.
By Norman Doidge, but let me double check the name on that. It's a New York Times bestseller, I believe. So it's easy to find. I've listened to it on Audible. I've read it years ago. But he goes around and had studied different people who have changed their brains, right? They were told this wouldn't happen and that wouldn't happen, and this condition was for life, or nobody could figure it out, and they were a mystery case. And then they tried this, that, and the other thing, and something healed, right? And he studied neuroplasticity, and he teaches you about it in the book. So it's helps to read things like that and to educate yourself on what is possible, so that you can stand firm in knowing that things are possible, and that when another expert tells you that things aren't, you have something, some evidence, some research, some case studies to back that up. And that's one of the reasons I love books, is because a lot of the books I read, I love when they do a wonderful job of citing their sources. And then you can go back and look at the studies of where they got this information, because then it's kind of like your ammunition, right?
Yeah. But, a lot of parents are probably not from either scientific background, or they feel like that those languages those language sounds gibberish to them, probably, so they are scared to go down that rabbit hole. So probably they just it's easier for us to follow what we are being told, right? Because that's how we are taught in school, to be the good girls or the good boy, to listen to the teacher, whatever we are saying. All right, so Pooja, Hiksha, thank you, and Tripti as well. You have something.
Well, this camera drives me crazy. I can't figure it out.
Yes.
Changes itself.
Norman Doidge.
$4.49.
Okay, got the name.
Amazing.
I am so going to read this.
Yeah, it's a wonderful book, and it'll help boost your confidence.
Inshallah. Thank you so much, Emily, for finding the time. I know you are very busy. You are also managing properties and so many other ventures, and you also have the Who is Carter Foundation. It's been really nice to have you here to listen to somebody who is a mom, who has been there, who has, I would say, fought her way through the murky waters of not possible, and then she came out with The Brain Possible. Thank you so much for being here, and also to all of our friends here that tuned in today. So we will see you again in the next one. Thank you, Emily, once again, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
It was lovely having you. Bye. Send my love to Carter and all your kids, okay? Bye. Have a good day. Bye.